All right, my little nuggets. What is going on here? The energy is just loaded, very loaded. I'm not sure which direction to even start with here. This is super random, and I shouldn't even say this in the intro, but it came through, so here we are. I sense a couple of you are very intensely starting something or cannot start, and that is like very strong energy, like intro disrupting energy. So executive functioning is here. Some of you who are struggling to start, really quick, just get this out here. You may need to talk to yourself more. I might get into that later. I might not. This feels really random, but there is a message here about forcing communication to get things unstuck and moving. And it is coming through like very literally, like speaking to move your blocked energy. So just going to say that and move on. Protection. Protection is the strongest theme for this reading. I am speaking to very highly protected people. This protection that you hold is almost changing the message in weird ways for this reading. It's almost unclear. It's blurry. Like the reading is encrypted. It's like purposely obstructed somehow. So I sense a blur or fogginess either in your energy now or in the past that is very strong. But the important thing to note about protection here is it feels less like something has been blocked for you and more like something was withheld intentionally because knowing too early would have changed your trajectory in some very, very critical way that Spirit wants to explain in this reading. For now, I just want to stress protection is significant for some of you, even though it may feel otherwise. Protection is kind of a sneaky energy because most of the time when I read people who are highly protected, they feel recoil, like they don't feel protected. Some may feel deeply protected and resonate with that, but some may recoil at that and feel their life has been inherently hard. So protection shows up in sneaky ways. This is like people who just have uncanny things happen, unexplainable luck, things that just work out that don't even make sense. It could be why you are in the spiritual realm in the first place. Like what brought you here is you maybe don't have a perfect life, perfect luck, anything like that, but things just work out in weird ways that don't make sense for you, right? There's like either a deep faith in knowing things will always work out or just a observation you have, or like you've seen stuff work out in really bizarre ways. There's a group here that feels they once wanted a person, outcome, or opportunity really bad. Like they fixated on that or they held it very dearly. You may have held an outcome in your past quite tightly, but there's also a group here who has had an outcome circle back. Like maybe they didn't have a strong attachment to it, but now they're presented with an option. It seems that most of you have moved on, whether it's because there was a long enough time in between this outcome or this direction that you wanted, or a long enough time for it to resurface. But like, it's very clear that who this is for has already begun the process of moving forward. You're not in this attachment energy anymore, and that's very clear. So as specific as I could say, this is geared towards those who feel they are moving on, feel they have moved on, but you did hold something very dearly at one point. It's just not the same for you anymore. You're not as fixated on that outcome. So who this is for, as specifically as I can say, as clearly as I can say, you are a specific intersect of a person. And so it definitely is not for everyone. You are clearly not stuck on anything anymore. But at one point you wanted something, you fought for something so hard that it left residue on your energy, because that and the protection for you is showing the strongest in your energy right now. And so it seems like this message is going to be important for your path in some way, especially upcoming. Your guides are really focusing on why they protected you. They want you to hear that. And I think it becomes really important with what either resurfaces for you or what new begins for you upcoming. This protection energy is very important to clarify. So I already forgot what my nickname for you guys was today. Nuggets? My protected nuggets? I kind of like that. It's like fitting. It's like treasure. Oh God, I'm fully embracing the weird now. Excellent. Welcome, newcomers, my little nuggets. Anyway, welcome to your protected space. I don't think I said that in the last part. Give me a moment here because I started this and I don't actually know that I was ready. So it's partly confusing because I feel like this is protected energy. And so it feels a little blurry. It feels a little unclear. So one moment. Gosh, this literally does feel encrypted to me. I don't know if you guys know what encryption is. It's like when everything is like distorted. That's what this feels like. Okay, so it's very clear here. Your guides are protecting you. Some of you are still in a protected space very deeply, but some of you are just getting out of that. You have been for your whole life. That's clear. Much more than others are protected. Energy is typically a lot more open than this. This is not open energy. This is protected energy. It just has a different shape. It's more difficult to read. You may have entered this life in more of a fog. You may have entered this life in a lack of clear space. This could show up in different ways. Like you just didn't feel like you were really grounded in reality. You were more intuitive. But as your guides slowly start releasing this protectional space that you're in, this protectional bubble, you're going to start feeling reality, feeling the discomfort of reality, of the earthly realm. And I think that that's what this first part wants to explain to you is like where you come from and now why it's so uncomfortable. It's almost like a clear contrast. And this could be reversed as well. But I don't want to get into it too complicated. Just hear the contrast to start is in earlier years, you were in a very protected space. You were in a bubble, a spiritual deep bubble. And this is because when someone is as tapped in, as I see you clearly were, they have to be protected from that space. You don't just get to be tapped in and then also get to be grounded in the earthly realm. There's sort of a either or obstacle here. And so this kind of it results in the byproduct of like a heavy daze, a floating type of energy, not really being stressed or just confusion, just perpetual confusion, not having clarity, not really mentally worrying about very much. There's just a lot of fog, a lot of Pisces type of energy. In other words, being tapped in, being so close to source requires protection. You don't get both. It's one or the other. So the fog is lifting. The earthly clarity is coming in either now or upcoming, and it's grounding you into the space in a very uncomfortable way. And it's coming through to me in a visualization about the physical body, which I think is interesting, is like, as you ground into reality, I'm seeing someone aware of their posture. Interesting. This could be like literal for some of you, like paying or being mindful of your posture at this time, your bone structure. There could be pain or consequence in this area, like it's hurting or requiring you to be aware. But on a symbolic level, this is very, very deep to me. It's showing walking in a specific way that is mindful of two parts of the body working together. There's probably a term for this. I feel like it's so specific. Let me check. Hold on. One moment. Okay, I knew there was. I knew it. It's called gait mechanics, and I'll leave more in the description. This is like something that runners probably pay attention to a lot. But basically, it's the idea that when you're in motion, you need to be conscious of how you are in motion. So let me say it this way. Most people who aren't aware, they lean forward when they walk or they run. And this is a head first approach to movement. You are allowing your head to lead your movement and your body to follow your head. And people aren't even conscious they do this. This is a very unconscious thing. But Gates Mechanics talks about using your sacral chakra area or your center mass as your primary. Like you lead with your hips. Your hips walk and run first, and then your head follows. That is the most balanced way in which you can move, essentially, according to this. So basically, Spirit is emphasizing that the most balanced way to move forward is through your center mass, and your head should follow. You should not move head first. And it's clearly showing me at the beginning of your life when you were tapped in, or perhaps now when you are more tapped in, whichever is relevant to you, you were in a cocoon where you weren't thinking. You were just leading with your hips. Your center mass, your sacral being was leading and your head was following. And it was just doing that because you were in this protective space. But now that you are entering the earthly realm and your guides are lifting protection purposefully, your head now wants to lead first. That is the byproduct. That is the result of grounding into the earthly realm. is the head wants to dominate. There is an imbalance that occurs. So being aware that this is something that happens, that is the byproduct of leaving a protective space, is important because it shows in, I guess, sneaky ways, right? Like more mental fixation, more looping thoughts, more anxiety, things where the head begins to dominate and take control, take the wheel, is a result of protection lifting. But there's a very important reason that your guides want to discuss why it's happening, I think maybe in the next part and the outcome that follows. But for now, this first part is really just saying in the past, or however this works for you, is like you were rushing ahead with your mind. And this protection was protecting you from doing that. It's showing me that the mind, the head space, is not meant to rush ahead. And so some of you were being protected in a way where if you were not put in this foggy or intuitive space, your mind would have led. And the protection was to keep you in this space where your mind didn't leave. So there was something here that was very intentional. And then a lot of this is also showing up as a long delay. So protection for a lot of you, in addition to this foggy space, in addition to this stopping the head space from leading, is also in a delay form. So if you are waiting on an outcome, a person, or an opportunity, or something to resurface, this is talking to you specifically. Your guides are purposefully constructing this delay right now. This is not something you just are out waiting. This is something that is very much divinely orchestrated. So the fog or delay kept you essentially from building around a person, opportunity, or an outcome. That's very clear. And I think I'll expand on that in the next part because for some of you, that's very important. But this first part is really just saying you are very heavily protected. In the beginning of this lifetime right now, you are coming into this life so tapped in that you needed these very long delays. You needed these spaces of immense fog because it was stopping your head from leading. It was protecting you in some very critical way. And it might still be. And that protection becomes very important when you're so spiritually tapped in, like you came here or you are dealing with right now. That needs a correctional space. And so you could be dealing with an increase of mental noise and chatter right now as that corrects itself, as your guides are preparing you and integrating you. But for some of you, there's no symptoms at all that this grounding is happening. It's just an overall fog increase. It's just a lack of clarity. But both are showing up as the head and the sacral space being integrated together in this time. It could be also very literal for some of you. Some of you should be practicing walking hips first, walking not head first. Some of you might be leading with your head in a literal way when you're walking or running, if that's relevant to you. But this is mostly saying this first part is very layered. An imbalance in your energy is being corrected right now, and you will feel the uncomfortable symptoms of correction. This grounding or protected space that you were in and leaving that or entering that is not easy, but this is what is required to tap into spiritual insights. There's like a discomfort that comes from tapping in, from being so connected to source. And so it's happening now because whether in the past or now, you are receiving higher downloads, you are receiving things straight into your subconscious and being protected to do so. But this foggy space, this uncomfortable space, this lack of protected space that comes after you receive that, wherever you are in that process, is going to feel very, very not good. So the first part is just explaining why you were in a highly protective space for so long and why it's so uncomfortable, or why it will be so uncomfortable in this delay or this grounding area. Okay, so hopefully I clarified protection for you, because it definitely is not typical when I read energy. This protection, this encryption, this blur, this fog, this is not typical in what I see. But this next part is going to talk about upcoming. This protection kept you in a much more comfortable space than you're in now. I see that clearly. So you might be interpreting this discomfort as something is wrong. That's why it might feel harder, is being so protected for a lot of your life, and then now not being. You've never felt unprotected, so you don't know what this is. But some of you, a delay could be the harder part, right? Like there's two parts protection comes through. It's like this fog, and then maybe this mental noise that comes out of nowhere. And then others, it's like this ridiculously long delay. And so it looks like for a lot of you, whether in addition to or just on its own, a lot of you were protected from knowing something too soon. And that's where the mental energy is coming from in this reading, because something better was meant for you. And so knowing something too early could have caused issues that I picked up on at the beginning. It was very strong. You held it very dear at one point, but you were protected from knowing something either recently or earlier because it's going to return, and you are being asked to integrate before that happens. So you don't choose something that isn't serving your highest self. The protection in the form of a delay for this thing, however it shows up for you, is so you would sort of move on and integrate, because otherwise it would come back before you had time to form clarity. Some of you may have already experienced the recircling or resurfacing of this outcome you used to be attached to, but for others of you, you are still moving on. That is very clear. You are still integrating this head and sacral space together, but this thing remains unresolved. The delay was very hard for you because it left you in an unclear space, a foggy space that had no real certainty. It had no real answers. It had no real closure. It comes back, this thing, whether it already did or will, but your guides aren't stressing it resurfacing. They're instead stressing your protection. They want you to really hear this. And I think the reason this message wants to stress your protection and not the resurfacing of this thing that inevitably comes back is because you were being protected with this delay. You were or are being protected by this delay. And once you can see and really hear that clearly, it helps you make a better decision when this thing returns, because it's inevitable. It does. I see that. There's no doubt in my mind. So for example, if you know this was orchestrated, this delay or this difficult foggy space, you can kind of understand why it's so difficult in the current time and why it's being delayed so long. I think your guides want that information to be given to you clearly. The reason it didn't come back in a normal time, or it's been delayed so long, or it continues to be delayed, is because you may or might right now choose that thing or outcome instead of choosing something for your highest good. Now, that's not saying that this thing isn't right for you. That's a different message. It's saying that you need to be in a space where this physical integration you're doing between the head and sacral space completes. And until that happens, you cannot choose correctly with this outcome. So your guides are like almost purposefully delaying this thing from returning. I think this message is really saying once this integration is complete, however long it takes for you, and which there's no time limit here, is you are able to see things clearly once this integration completes. You are no longer in the tapped in intuitive fog of talking directly to source and getting these downloads, but you're also no longer in the distress of trying to ground from that space. So you're in this harmonious clarity space where you can see better things are actually coming. And your guides want this thing to resurface at the specific time you're ready to have that clarity so you can make the best decision for your highest good. So you almost need this delay. You need this foggy space. You need this grounding into the earthly realm, and you need to be uncomfortable for a little bit, because that's what it really takes to balance the head and the sacral space together when you come from such a tapped in and intuitive place. So while it feels, I guess, disorienting, discouraging, it feels like things are being blocked, it feels like it's taking too long, it's actually the exact space that creates long-term clarity where outcomes come back, but they don't influence you. You have a level of healthy detachment. And you might already know this because I see a lot of you already moving on in this detached way. It's just your guides are purposefully delaying. They're purposefully protecting you in this space. So when their offer comes on the table, you pick yourself before you pick their offer. And it might feel like it's prolonging, it might feel discouraging, but I think this message is saying you're still working through that imbalanced space. And there's a reason. It's because you got a higher access to intuitive downloads. You got your subconscious directly tapped into source, and you're meant to take that information and ground it into the earthly realm. And that takes a lot more mastery. That takes a lot more patience, a lot more discomfort. to be able to hold both of those together like you're doing. And so this is creating the wobbly space. This is creating the lack of clarity space. And not a lot of people can deal with this level of discomfort for as long as you're doing. So just know this is all very good. It's just the perspective of the delay is maybe needing more clarity with this message. And so the main point of this is your guides, they want you to have the highest possible outcome. They don't want you to settle for offers that are beneath you. They don't want you to pick something because you were attached to it in the past. They want you to fully integrate both of these places together so you can choose yourself and not the thing, whatever it is, whether it be an offer or a person. There's just an inevitable thing that's resurfacing. And so for some of you, choosing yourself might actually be taking this offer, but only if the offer serves your highest good. And you will not know that until you've reached a balanced space between this area of like your sacral and center mass space and your head space. And so your guides are just essentially delaying it. They are delaying it until you integrate fully. Otherwise, you would potentially make a choice that isn't for your highest self. And so this integration process to receive the highest offer that you can takes time. It's going to take a delay, and that is protection. That is not a blockage. And your guides want you to hear that so clearly. They don't even want you to focus on the thing coming back because it will. It's just like inevitable. It's really about being so protected. Some of you may also be receiving something new, brand new. And this integration space is the delay, the protection to receive that thing in your highest form. But in either way, whether it be something inevitably coming back and also a new opportunity, is just this message is saying protection is so important for you at this time. You're balancing two systems that conflict with each other, and that takes a lot of discomfort in order to integrate them, but your guides are purposefully waiting for this to be done. And it's a very patient process. It is not something that can be rushed. It is not something that you get to control. It is working for your highest good, working for the best and highest outcome that you could possibly get. And your guides want you to hear that because it does come off. It does seem like it's this horrible delay that you just need to wait longer and it's miserable. And no, it's really serving you. It's actually doing something way better for you long term than just keeping something from you unnecessarily. All right, little nuggets. This is the outro. This is our safe space. So if you want the reading, this is not the reading. This is the nugget space. The lightly and heavily salted nugget space. Don't say you weren't warned. You were warned. What am I going to talk about here? I am going to say I love you, but we'll wait for that. Some interesting things came through. I kind of am just letting spirit take the wheel in a lot of these readings now. It's either it diverges into all these like details that we're seeing, or a frequency comes through, a healing frequency. And I think both are very interesting. They serve different purposes, right? Like information serves one purpose for you, and then a healing frequency serves a completely different. And it almost relates to this reading. The difference between the head and sacral space that we're talking about here and finding balance between the two. And so I think this reading is really profound. It's a really big one, and different frequencies did come through. So I will work tirelessly. I will work with all my passion to get this out. It seems it is a sacral chakra type of frequency, type of hertz, and it's about releasing protection. It's about this wobbly space while your guides release protection before something beautiful emerges. It's to support that space in between, because we usually only think of the two extremes. We think of being protected and we think of something new coming, but we don't really think of the in-between space where protection is lifted and something new still hasn't come in, or something old still hasn't resurfaced. So I will be working on that. And if this reading resonated with you, you might need more support in this phase than you may think. I think your guides want to protect you when this thing returns, when this new thing comes in. They want you to be able to choose something that serves your highest self, not choose based on anything else. So I will leave that in the description for you. And I just want all my little nuggets to know that I love them more dearly than any words or any sounds could say. And I hope you know that. Okay, that is all. Thank you for being here. Cheers, friends.